guys. This is While Supplies Last, the marketing podcast,
where we talk about all things business and marketing.
I'm Gabby.
And I'm Candace.
And today we have Joe and Sterling from Do Work back again.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Welcome.
Of course. Thanks for coming back. So they also have a new branch of Do Work.
Yeah, we're wearing a different shirt this time.
Yes.
It's been tripping people out because we always wear the black Do Work shirts. And now we're in a white Blue Collar Connect shirt, and everyone's like, what's happening?
Yeah, what's going on?
You're in a different shirt.
Which is all branding.
It
Get
is.
people talking.
Yeah. But we can have y'all talk about that a little bit more later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about the importance of networking, which is right up their alley if you guys don't know. But yeah, a big part of Do Work is networking and connecting entrepreneurs and business owners. But when did y'all first realize that networking was a very important part of business?
I think it was different for both of us, but yeah, for me, it started in 1999. I joined a networking group in Houston, North Houston, and it kind of changed everything for me. That I didn't know how to get the word out that my business even existed, didn't know how to find people to refer me business, and almost immediately walked in the room, and there was a guy there who mentored me for the first year in business and showed me how to network. And yeah, we went from $0 to $4 million in revenue in 18 months with no other marketing other than referrals from that networking group.
Nice.
So I would say that was my first indicator that was important.
That's a big jump.
Yeah.
I guess it works.
It does work. Continues to work today. So, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, so I was exposed to business early on. In high school, I started my first business venture trying to do some marketing and advertising style stuff, but it was great. I very quickly realized that everyone was trying to sell each other constantly with no strategy behind it. And naturally, I just tried to connect the dots. Who lives in the same world? Who's going to be able to benefit or help somebody else that is in that same industry or vice versa? And I got a lot of pushback from it in the beginning because everyone was like, that's not how we do things. But in my mind, I was like, but this just makes sense. Connecting the right people together that can actually help one another as opposed to just throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping for the best. So I started to challenge the norms of how business was being done. I was in a position working for Marriott as a director of sales. So with that, sales, obviously, you got to connect to the right people, figure out where the business is coming from and how to capture that. So, I was on an airplane and just started chatting to this guy next to me, and he ended up being the owner of Franklin Building Supply, which is a big supplier for contractors on wood and stuff like that for building. And got chatting with him about a business adventure I was running, and then next thing I knew, he was connecting me to other people, and it just ended up being a very prominent display that networking works. So,
That's good to hear. Because everybody needs to be involved in networking, and with the internet now, you obviously can network online.
What's the internet?
Yeah.
I'm totally joking.
Vikings don't use the internet.
That's right. We just yell real loud across the ocean.
So which one do you think primarily right now is more important? If either is, or is there a combination of the both you should be doing?
Yeah. So definitely combination, but I think Joe has a little more insight on that. So.
Yeah, in person first and foremost. I think we noticed during COVID when everything was shut down that networking and business really slowed. And I noticed in networking groups that I was in when we moved from in-person to online, about 70% of the members left those groups because the personal connection just didn't exist. And that personal connection is what drove business. It can be enhanced with social media and online tools. So let's just take, we're in a networking group, and then we make friends with the people that are in that group on Facebook and LinkedIn and platforms like that. And that enhances the relationship because you can get to know their family easier than just talking about it over coffee. You can actually see them in pictures and kind of participate in their lives. But it can't be all online. Unfortunately, people need to be out in their public. And the mistake a lot of people make is thinking that they can be keyboard warriors to win in business, and it works for some people. We all see the success story of somebody who hides out in their apartment and makes $1 million, but they're the rarity, not the norm. Most of the millionaires that I run into, and billionaires for that matter, are very social creatures. They're out at networking events, they're at galas, they're at in-person events, meeting with people, and they're out in the public constantly branding themselves, from a personal standpoint. Not as much as us most of the time, but they should be. So But we see most of them out in the public that are actually out building those personal relationships, shaking hands, looking people right in the eye and building those personal relationships. It's got to be first.
Yeah, just to bounce off that as well is I'd look at the internet as a tool. So it's a resource for me, kind of like a Rolodex. And so whatever social media platform you're on, you're going to be able to engage with a specific audience. So you need to be mindful about what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then obviously be on the right platform to engage with your ideal customer or client or the person that you're trying to network with ultimately. But I use the social media, the internet, if you will, to set up those in-person conversations and things like that. Zoom is okay. I think Joe pretty much touched on it. There's so much of that personal interaction that's lost through Zoom, unfortunately. And there's 3 ways that all humans learn. It's audio, visual, and kinesthetic. And with the internet Zoom stuff, you're missing the kinesthetic aspect because you're engaging audio and visually, but you're not actually doing something together. Like simply shaking someone's hand, there's a lot of information that's transferred about that person in that moment. So you could kind of pick up on their mannerisms, their character, their confidence levels, all these things. So it really helps identify whether that's somebody you want to do business with very quickly on. So I think in person, 100%. Use the internet to eventually get to that aspect of networking.
So basically, all the networking on social media should be supplemental. So how much time would you say you dedicate or someone should dedicate to actually doing in-person networking?
I would say primarily all of it. Yeah.
Well, like as far as...
Like more of a specific number?
Yeah, like how much time should you set aside?
Yeah, for most business owners that we run into are small local business owners, probably 4 hours a week minimum of time to be networking in person, like in-person networking. Social media, they can use that, again, enhance those relationships they're building. So they meet somebody at a networking event, they can connect with them on Facebook or Instagram or whatever the preferred method is and kind of deepen the relationship. But 4 hours minimum per week is, we spend a lot more than that, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so quick side story on that. This was last June, I think. Joe and I set a challenge for ourselves because we obviously try to spearhead networking. And actually, we have a lot of people that refer to Joe and I as the backbone of networking in the markets that we're in. So we obviously set that standard. But we put a challenge in front of us. We were like, how much networking can we do in one day? And we hit 23 separate events together. So we didn't divide and conquer on this. We just started early in the morning and we went after it. And it was hard because we were at some events for like 10 minutes and just said hi to everyone and then left. On to the next one, right? But that's 23 separate events and there's only 24 hours in the day. So when people are like, oh, I can't network, I don't have time for it. It's like, you can, you just need to be mindful of where you're going. And at 4 hours a week that you are spending on networking, like you should have a strategy behind that. Don't just go to whatever networking event hoping for the best. We do talk to a lot of small business owners that unfortunately go to like chamber networking events where those are very much like spaghetti on the wall. You might meet 100 people, but are they 100 people you could do business with? And are those 100 people willing to do business with you and help you, or are they trying to pitch you on something and sell you, whatever product they have? Most of it's like insurance plans from what we see.
Yeah, and we got to clarify, do business with people network to find customers, which is not networking.
Correct.
That's incorrect networking. You should be networking to find referral partners, right? So Sterling saying do business with, we actually mean refer business back and forth. When we go to networking events, we don't pitch anybody anything. We're not out to sell somebody on a concept or on an idea or on a product. What we're trying to do is find people who could refer us business, and we feel comfortable referring them business. And we need to know that within minutes of meeting them, shake their hand. We have an understanding of whether or not we're going to be good referral partners based upon their industry, and then their personality. Are they like somebody we want to hang out with for longer than 5 minutes? and if so, then we'll identify that, and then we'll ask them for, hey, let's do coffee and kind of figure things out. And we'll put 2 or 3 of those people at a coffee meeting, so it's not usually a one-on-one coffee meeting at the beginning. And then out of those 2 or 3 people we have at coffee, maybe one of them would be a good referral partner for us. So if you think about, say that 4 hours of networking time is at group events, then you have another probably 4 or 5 hours of time that you're networking in one-on-one or, coffee style meetings. One of my first mentors, he said, if you want to grow a business from 0 to say $1 million in 2 years, you should never drink coffee alone. You should never eat breakfast alone. You should never eat lunch alone. You should never eat dinner alone. You should never have drinks alone, right? Every one of those things needs to be around building relationships and networking with people. And if you're not doing that, and maybe you're like, I'm just going to have a lunch by myself a couple times a week, those couple of hours, you're missing out on the opportunity to deepen relationships with people and get referrals out of them, right? So, and refer them, right? So our philosophy is give, right? So we want to give people 3 referrals before we ask for one in return. And what that does is it builds a huge economy of people who are out there going, hey, how can I get Joe and Sterling more business? They're constantly looking out for us.
Yeah.
Yep. And that all happened over coffee and lunch and dinner and drinks and breakfast and every other thing. Yeah.
That's a lot to unpack. I think just like that 2-minute, that 2-minute segment's a lot.
That's like four. That's like 4 reels. Right?
Yeah.
I have a lot of content to cut for TikTok.
Those 4 reels actually. If somebody just did that, what I just said in the last 2 minutes, they could easily build $1 million business.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's a little more strategy behind it. There's details.
Yeah.
So if you're curious on like exactly how to do that, obviously reach out.
Yeah. Or we just give it to them right now. Find people who are in related industries to you, right?
Yeah.
So who's your target customer? Backtrack it from them. Who's your target customer? Your target customer as a plumber is a homeowner. Or if you're commercial plumbing, it's going to be a property management company or commercial real estate agent or something like that. So let's just use that example. Commercial real estate agent is your target market. Who also deals with commercial real estate agents? Could be commercial insurance people. It could be people who are referring them business. It could be financial planners. It could be a lot of different people. But if you're a plumber, more than likely that commercial real estate agent is probably referring people to electricians, I would say. Or HVAC people, like we've been dealing with AC problems in this building. Yeah. But the AC person, while they're in here, they're going to notice some other stuff going on when they're coming up the elevator or they're in the hallway, and they're going to go, hey, maybe they need some painting done. And so they're going to be naturally good referral partners. And so who should a plumber spend more time with? Should it be, home and auto car insurance people? Probably not. They're probably not going to get any business out of those people. Should it be chiropractors? Probably not, right? But that's what they do, right? They go to a networking event, and then chiropractor sends them a message going, hey, let's have coffee. Then they go have coffee together. So you got a plumber and a chiropractor having coffee together, but neither of them will refer each other very much business, if any at all. Right. And so, but if you take an HVAC person who's doing, AC repair, they're going to be a great referral partner for a plumber, an electrician, any of those type of people. So they should spend all of their networking time looking at people who service the same clients as them, and they should only network with those people. That's the problem with networking that most people have is they go to a chamber of commerce event, or I don't want to dog on the chamber too bad, but like they're everything to everybody. And you walk in the room and there's 100 people in the room. Only 2 people in the room are wearing name badges. It's usually us. And and so you have no idea who you're meeting with. So you walk up to the first person, you say hi to them, and then they're a financial planner. And I'm like, well, me as Joe Mikitish, I'll never get referrals from a financial planner. I've never gotten one. Like maybe one ever, And so for me to continue having a conversation with that financial planner, that doesn't make much sense. But then I feel rude going, hey, I got to bounce because you're not a good referral partner for me. So what I do is I go, hey, let's go find the next person together. So I take the financial planner over, and the next person's a CPA. I'm like, those 2 are good referral partners, financial planner and CPA. I'm like, hey, you guys continue talking. I'm going to keep moving. And so until I find the person who's a good referral partner for me. But that's the thing when we talk about spending time networking. You got to find not just network with everybody. You got to find the right people to network with and spend all of your time doing that. So that 4 hours of networking in groups is to identify the small segment of people in those groups that are good referral partners for you. And then you spend the bulk of your time over coffee, lunches, dinners, drinks, whatever it is, with those individuals, building those deeper relationships and referring business.
Yeah, you literally hit my next question,
okay.
Completely. Because I was gonna say, like at Do Work networking events, you guys walk in, you put sign your name tag, and then you get a colored sticker that matches with your industry. So I was going to ask, why do you have us do that? But you just answered the question.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what those groups are called is power teams, right? So we'll just take the health and wellness power team. You got chiropractors, massage therapists, naturopaths, somebody who's maybe a dietitian, somebody who's a fitness coach. You have all these people who are out to look out for the health and wellness of their clients. And so we want those people all networking together because a chiropractor and a massage therapist and a naturopath and a health coach are all going to naturally be good referral partners for each other. Because maybe the health coach is working with one of their people and they're at the gym and that person gets a muscle cramp. Well, they need a massage therapist, or maybe they need a dietitian because they don't have enough magnesium in their diet, right? And so they're going to identify that and they're going to go, hey, I've got a dietitian. I can refer you to chiropractor to get that muscle taken care of so that you're back in the gym tomorrow and you're not hurt. They're naturally going to refer business to each other. But as soon as you throw a plumber into the equation, then one of these things is not like the other, right? And so what we do at our networking events is when people walk in the room, we go, what do you do? Cool. You're in the real estate power team. You're in health and wellness. You're in marketing. You're in business services. You're in events, or you're in the trades. And so we color code everybody when they walk in, and we go, all right, your job is to walk in the room and find other people in the room. And by the way, put name badges on everybody, so we don't feel lonely wearing name badges. Plus, it's a gift to everyone else wearing a name badge, by the way. So people don't have to remember your name. Like, I get it all the time. My name is Joe. It's like not that hard to remember Joe, but I see people all the time that I've only met once or twice, and they look at my name badge before they address me because they want to make sure that they have my name down. And so I don't expect them to remember my name any more than they should expect me to remember theirs. And so everybody walks in, name badge, color code them, and then they walk in the room and they start networking that way. Now, if you walk into a Chamber of Commerce event where they don't do that, now it's your job to make that happen, right? So when you walk in, you all are in the marketing power team, so you're going to walk in and try and find web developers and other photographers and videographers and those type of people. Walking up and talking to a plumber for 15 minutes or a financial planner for 15 minutes is a total waste of your networking time. And, you only have so many hours in a day. And if you're spending 15, 20 minutes talking to the wrong person, you need to really seriously rethink how you're networking. We make it easy. Unfortunately, nobody else does. So, we're working on that. We're working on it.
It's my life's trademark, by the way. Yeah. So if you're thinking about doing it.
It's my life's work. It's my mission.
Yeah. You also have a networking class for other businesses.
Yeah. So we have a referral marketing basics course in Do Work University that teaches you exactly how to do this, how to create your own strategy for your business, and start rolling it out into the market. So that way you can make the money as quick as possible.
Yep.
Perfect.
You're right. There you go. You're banging that thing. It's like cling, cling, cling.
Making sure you're listening.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You did mention, so there's strategy behind it, and you're talking about going to these networking events, and you're wanting to build a relationship with these people. So, and you're going to, like, as you mentioned, the Chamber of Commerce, a lot of those people are just pitching, trying to make sales. When is the best time to actually, hand them the business card or swap, because you're wanting to build the connection, but you're still wanting to generate a lead?
Yeah, this is interesting. So, and I see a lot of people struggle with this up front, and I like Joe's approach towards it because we'll give them permission to say no. And that's a really hard thing when you go into start networking and you want to get your name out there. You want to be known in your market, in your community as somebody who's like a connector, right? So how do you properly say, hey, this is not a good fit for us to chat or visit or have coffee or anything, right? Yeah. And it totally depends on the person. I have seen some people where they're just straight up no, I don't want to talk to you. And then they're like, well, why not? I'm a nice guy. And they're like, I'm sure you are, but you don't do what I do, so sorry. And so there's an interesting approach towards it, but I think Joe could have more insight on exactly how to approach that. Yeah,
so I think that when you're finding people in a room and you walk into, say, a Chamber of Commerce event, and there's the first person you meet is not a good referral partner for you, I usually straight up tell them, hey, we're not going to be great referral partners, but you're in whatever power team, so understanding what that is. Mm-hmm. And then I explain it to them real quick, and I'm like, I'm going to go find somebody to bring over to you. And that's what I do. Almost the whole time I'm networking, I'm walking up to somebody, and I go, oh, you do this? Cool, I just met Mike over here or Stacy over here. Let me go introduce you to that person. Then I go hand them off. Now, what's great about that is I'm not rude. about it. Plus, they're both like, that Joe guy's awesome. He introduced us together, and we're great referral partners naturally. And so they all start seeing me as a connector. Usually within 15 minutes of me entering a Chamber of Commerce room, like if I went to a chamber event here in San Antonio for the first time and knew nobody in the room, within 15, 20 minutes, everybody that I've interacted with would see me as a great connector, and they would start bringing me people. It would almost instantly happen that way. And I'd be the one person that people would go, I need to connect with that guy on LinkedIn and make sure that I have access to his network, because they would know that I'm a connector and I'm not a taker. You're talking about people pitching each other. And when the proper time to hand a business card over, the only time you should hand a business card to somebody is if they're in a good referral partner for you. Right, so you've identified when you walk in, they're a good referral partner for you. Then you should exchange the business card. But if I see a lot of people do this. They walk up before they even say anything. They go, "Here's my card," and then you end up giving out a lot of cards to people who have no use for those cards, and they're just going to throw them in the trash.
Right.
And so usually what I'll do is I'll end up with a stack of those business cards, and I have 2 pockets in the back of my pants, and I'll go, these ones I need to follow up with. These ones I'm going to throw away. And so depending on how we're going through the evening, because I never want to turn down somebody's business card, I just put it in whichever pocket it's going to be naturally go into.
Yep.
And but when you should do it is you've identified a good referral partner. You walk up and you're in marketing, and the person is maybe a videographer, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a good relationship for us to maybe explore to see if we're going to be a good referral partners. So then it's the time to exchange information. And I usually say schedule a coffee meeting before you leave that engagement, right? So before you are done talking to them, go, hey, we're here already. Why play phone tag? Let's just get our calendars out and schedule some time. And that way you don't have to try and do it later.
That's a good way to gauge interest as well. Like, networking's an interesting game to me because so much of it is surface level, and everyone personifies this fun, like everyone likes me attitude, right? Or character. And so business cards with that as well, like we do see it all the time. People exchange business cards that, in my perspective, should not be exchanging business cards. They're not a good fit for each other to help one another grow their business. But we've all been there where we go to a networking event, we go home with 150 business cards or whatever, and 2 people out of there are like legit ones that we should exchange with. But anyway, like when you're talking with somebody, I love that concept of just being like, let's put it on the calendar right now. And if they're excited and they're like, absolutely, can't wait, and you're just, you're hitting the right vibe, if you will, with that person, it's going to be a good relationship moving forward. But if you're like, hey, let's just put it on the calendar right now, and they're like, oh, well, I'm booked out 2 weeks. And it's like, great, that's all right. I am too. Like, let's set something up. How's this week looking? Well, I got, kids dance classes that night or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, what about the next week? And they're like, well, they keep making excuses. So it's very clear that they don't really want to meet with you. Mm-hmm. And it's easier at that point just to move on and be like, I like to put the ball in their court. Hey, you got my contact info. Reach out to me when you get some time, and we'll sit down. We'll see how we can help each other do business. 10 out of 10, they've never reached out. Like it's filters through the network as well. So you're not spending time chasing people that don't actually want to work with you anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. You don't need everyone, right? And I think the way to put it to people is how many customers do you actually need in order to hit your financial goals, right? Because let's start with the financial side of things. We all go out and network because we want to hit some type of financial goal. We're not out there typically to just go hang out and have fun with people. I am, but but really the goal kind of starts with finances. So let's just say in your business you want to make $100,000 a year. How many customers do you need in order to do that? So let's just say you're charging $1,000 for a product over the course of a year. That means you need 100 clients. And so I need 100 clients. How do I go get those 100 clients? Those 100 clients, if I find 2 or 3 solid referral partners who are referring me weekly, I'll easily hit that number. So you don't need 400 contacts. You don't need 500 contacts. You don't need people who are pitching you the second you walk up to meet them. Usually if somebody does that, and we have a fun term for that. We call it pitch slapping somebody, I'll walk up and I'm like, man, that guy just pitch slapped the heck out of me. I'm not really a fan of that. And so we try to find people who are givers. They have the give philosophy, even if they don't know what that is. They don't have a term for it. They're looking out for other people first. And so we want to look for those people, and we don't need very many of them. I always tell people to make all the money you want in life, you need 10 A-level solid referral partners who refer you weekly. If you get a referral from 10 different people, so 2 people a day are referring you business, and your close rate is 50% of referrals that are coming in, because industry standard on non-referral business is about 20% close, 50% on referrals. So if you're closing 5 deals per week, you're easily hitting your financial goals of having 100 clients. You're going to hit it halfway through the year. And so you don't really need that many referral partners. And what people do is they're out there just like trying to grow their network. They're like, my network is my net worth. I'm like, the quality of your network determines the net worth, not really the quantity. And so if you can have 50,000 contacts in your phone like I do, I have 50,000 contacts in my phone. I have maybe 200, 250 of them that refer me business on a regular basis. But if you think about that number, 250 referral partners who refer us business on a regular basis, and people are like, man, you guys are crushing it. I don't know how you're doing it. Some guy told us this on Friday. He's like, I don't know how you guys do this. I'm like, well, we have an army of people out in the market referring us business, but it started with 5 people. Our goal was 5 people, then 10 people. And then in order to hit our financial goals, we need a lot more than 10 people. But most people will hit all their financial goals amazingly well with just 5 to 10 solid referral partners who can refer them business. You'll do $1 million in business with 10 referral partners who are good. As long as you're selling something that's more than $10. If you're selling something that's a $10 product, I don't know what I can do for you. Volume then you can put it on Etsy and call it good. So I guess.
We're trying to be like you guys. So I know you said before, like during networking events to avoid pitching.
Yep.
What other things do you guys think people should just stay away from during networking events? Or what are some things that people do that just make you guys cringe?
There's a long list.
Yeah, there really is.
Really a long list.
I would say just focus on giving. Like you got to show your value within the room. And if you're just in there like taking from everyone, there's very clear indicators. I'm sure you guys have seen. There's givers and there's takers in the room. And the people that come in and just like want to take, naturally no one wants to talk to them about halfway through the event because they realize there's no value to it, right? They're in there trying to get your money and then bounce and go to the next group and so on and so forth. So I would say focus on giving and providing value for who you are as a person. Like Joe had mentioned, within 15 minutes, we're making introductions and we're, kind of helping people network properly. And that is a huge increase in value. And we experienced that coming to San Antonio the first time. Our first networking event that we hosted created a huge buzz in San Antonio. We had people calling us constantly after about like, who the heck are you guys? Like everyone knows you already and you guys came down one time and it's like, well, we're efficient with it. And we didn't ask for anything. We didn't pitch anyone on anything. We didn't try to sell anything. We just came in and brought a massive amount of value to San Antonio with this new idea of networking, right? So
right.
I would just say do that. Instead of going through all the negatives, focus on the positive and
I'll do some negatives.
All right, Joe's got some negatives.
I got some negatives. All right. So oftentimes what I find is people flirt a lot, like it's a dating thing. And I'm like, this is networking, not dating. Number one. That'll get you in trouble. And it'll get you blacklisted in the business community. People will eventually start avoiding you and not making eye contact and being like, we don't want any of that. And this happens with both men and women. Like, both groups of people are really guilty of this, being overly flirtatious. Like, and even if they don't intend to get a date out of it, they use it as a strategy, but it's a big turnoff. Like, I run into it all the time. And I have to actually have conversations with people in the business community. I get word back that they're doing that, and I'll sit down with them like, we need to have a conversation about this. Like, stop complimenting people's appearances so much, and and that kind of thing. And so that's a big no-no. The other thing is coming in there and just trying to be the life of the party, being like bragging about how awesome you are, and just people don't care about you as much as you think. Like, they care about themselves. And so the idea behind networking first and foremost is to get get the other person talking more than talking about yourself. It's interesting because I'll sit down and have coffee with somebody, and we'll talk for 55 minutes, and they don't realize that I've not told them anything about me. And then they're like, "Oh man, we got to leave in 5 minutes. You haven't told me anything about you yet, And that's exactly the ratio of that I want in a meeting. I want them talking about themselves for 55 minutes, and I'll talk about myself for maybe 3 minutes, and then we'll wrap up the meeting. And so, coming into a meeting and just telling everybody what you do, and just doing one of those numbers, pitch slapping everybody or whatever, but just talking about yourself constantly, telling people stories about yourself. Asking questions is the number one thing. So finding out what other people are interested in and stay focused on that. Stay focused on them first. And there's two reasons for that besides the fact that, they want to talk about themselves, number one, and they don't really care about you anyway and what you have going on. That's just the nature of man, right? They want to talk about themselves. It actually makes them like you more if you get them talking about themselves than talking about yourself. Because you're a good listener. I don't know how many times over the years people are like, man, you're the best listener to me or about me. Joe's the best listener. And I'm over there and I usually try and take notes if I were sitting down having a meeting. But in person, like standing up at a networking event, I'm usually taking mental notes about what they're talking about and then repeating it back. So that kind of, mirroring back to them what they're saying so they feel like I'm listening to them. And that's a huge mistake people make is they just spend all their time talking about themselves. So besides the flirting, and that's a big no-no. And I don't know if you guys have run into that, but it's one of those things that makes me absolutely crazy. And I can see it, like people's body language across the room, and I'll go rescue people. Yep. I'll see somebody having that situation. I'll walk over and I'm like, hey, I got somebody I got to introduce you to. And they're usually like, thank you so much for saying that.
It hasn't happened yet, but
it will. It will.
I will give a forewarning. If you are one of those people, probably don't come to a Do Work networking event because we will throw you out.
Yeah.
Not ask you to leave. We will throw you out.
I don't know if bouncing them out. Well, I have asked people to leave before. Yeah. And then overindulging in alcohol, at an event. Like we serve alcohol at our events. A couple beers, a couple glasses of wine. It actually loosens things up and people can talk better and have better conversations. Sure. But stop it too. Don't get sloppy drunk because people will talk about it for months and maybe years later. Like there's a couple people in our network that got sloppy drunk at events, and then people are like, hey, by the way, Steve over there got slammed at the last networking event and made a fool of himself. Don't be that person.
I do have a don't. One popped to mind as Joe was talking. Don't stand in the corner. So most of us do that. I think it's ultimately a confidence thing at the end of the day, especially if you're new to networking. Like a lot of the topics we've talked about, you don't know if you don't know. And if you're new to a position, which sometimes this happens, let's say somebody hires a sales rep for their company, right? Well, we hired you for sales, so you already know how to do everything. Just go out there and figure it out. And they just send these sometimes young guys, fresh out of high school or in college out there to do these sales positions. They don't know how to network properly. They might have a lot of charisma, and they might have some natural talent to have good conversation and kind of understand some of the basics. But again, you don't know if you don't know. So one thing I do when I go to networking events is I specifically look for those standing in the corner or sitting in a chair by themselves or not engaging in conversation. I'll watch the room, and I make it a point myself to go get them out of the corner, start making some introductions. And usually after about one or two networking events, you see them kind of get their confidence where they walk in, they know a few people, they're shaking hands, and then they could come out of their shell and show their value, right? And so I would just say, even though you're nervous, if you're new to networking and you're not quite sure how to put all the pieces of the puzzle together yet, just get out there, shake that first person's hand. Usually look for the one who's a little more talkative. And if you go shake someone else's hand who's also in the corner, you're just going to hang out in the corner together. So find somebody who's active and just go introduce yourself. And hopefully it's a positive person that's willing to give. They might see some spark in you and then make those introductions and help you grow. So.
Yeah, it's up to the professional networkers who go out and network all the time and the extroverts in the room to find the introverts who are hiding out and bring them into the network, right? And so understanding power teams properly and when you go over and you find that introvert or somebody who's unconfident hiding out in the corner, finding out immediately what they do and then walking them over to somebody who's in a parallel industry who's in their same power team is going to help them a ton because they're going to have naturally something to talk about. Ran into a bookkeeper. Bookkeepers notoriously introverts, right? And so ran into a bookkeeper. She's kind of hiding out in the corner, looking around like terrified because there's 100 people in the room. And I walk over. I'm like, so what do you do? Bookkeeper. I'm like, perfect. Let me introduce you to my friend who's a CPA. And so I walked over, introduced them, and then they had this great conversation. I was kind of standing over about 10 feet away. I'm like, all right, they got this, next. And so I kind of look around there and find another one. And but they naturally have something to talk about, and they're going to be able to share clients, and they're good referral partners. So it's up to us to not only pull them in, but drop them off with the right people, right? So if you bookkeeper, if I had dropped her off with, say, the chiropractor and the massage therapist, wouldn't have been as beneficial to her. And she would have been even more terrified to go out networking the next time because now she's like, there's a bunch of people who are not going to be good referral partners for me. But I introduced her to the CPA, and then I found a financial planner and pulled him over, and I found a business attorney and pulled her over. And before you know it, there's like a cluster, like little 5 business services. I'm like commercial insurance. Let me pull you over there. And they're all good referral partners for each other, and they're having a great conversation. She's all happy, that she's got people who are She's like, that's my
happy dance.
That's my happy dance. Yeah. So, and she's just happy that she's able to converse with people, and she's got the hand movement. That's what that is when you're talking and you're comfortable with the people around you. You talk with your hands. When you're not comfortable, you put your hands in your pocket. So I usually watch for people putting their hands in their pocket at me. When I'm talking to them, that means I'm maybe coming on a little strong. I'm like, I'm all excited. Let's go. And they're like, Joe's too fired up. So but watching people's body language is another reason why networking in person is so important, because you can't tell if somebody's uncomfortable as much over Zoom. In person, I can tell. Are they putting their hands in their pockets? Are they crossing their arms? Are they kind of fidgeting a little bit?
Are they wearing pants?
Are they wearing pants? Thankfully, on Zoom, I don't know.
It's like tuxedo up top. That's it.
You always see those funny videos on, where the guy's like fully dressed up and he stands up and he's wearing some boxers that have like little hearts on them. And everybody's like, dude.
We're in a board meeting, man.
So I used to be that person in the corner because I'm an introvert.
Sure.
But I had to get used to this person's by themselves. Let me go over to them and see what they do and try to start a conversation with them and then go from there.
Yeah.
But it was hard.
Yeah. So a little bit of a spotlight on the value that brings to a networking group, right? So there's a lot of networking groups out there, but if you guys ever walked into a group or a room and you're like, just going to try it out, see what it's all about, and you don't feel welcome, you walk in, you stand there for a few minutes, no one says hi, you try talking to a couple of people, but they're so involved with the conversation they're currently in that they're not willing to bring you into it, right? And then after 10, 15 minutes, you're like, man, no one here seems to care that I'm here, that I'm out here trying to shake hands and make friends. So you don't feel welcome and you leave, and chances are you never go back to that place, right? So if you guys listening are hosting networking events or you plan on hosting networking events, there's so much power in having people that you invite to that are those people pleasers, I guess, at the end of the day, but those who are going to reach out and make someone feel welcome. That's an impact that brings so much value to what you're doing that people want to come back. They're excited to come back, right? So one thing I try to do in Idaho, we know a lot of people, but I try to memorize everybody's name. So when they come into the check-in table, get their Power Team sticker, I know them by name. I don't have to look them up. I shake their hand. I give them a hug. I make them feel like they're the only person in the line for that 15, 20 seconds that I get to chat with them up front. And that sticks. I have so many people that come up to me after. They're like, man, I was having a really rough day today, and you just came up and you knew my name right away. You gave me a hug. I've only met you once, and that was 6 months ago. I don't even know how you remembered who I was. I don't personally remember how I remember who they were, but names just stick, I guess. But it makes such a valid impact to them that they're seen, they're heard, and they're welcome in that group. Right. So, a lot of what we're talking about, there is a strategy to it, but it goes deeper than just business. We're all people at the end of the day, so we want to be seen and heard, valued, and all that stuff. So make a point to say hello.
Yeah, and that's why BNI is so successful, right? Is they have a rule that the meeting is for the visitors, not for the members. Right? The members all know each other. The meeting is not for them. It's a show. It's a production for the visitors. The most successful BNI chapters, they have that in their mind. They're like, hey, we're putting on a production. We're putting on a show. Yeah. We're inviting the visitors in, and they have what are called visitor hosts. Somebody walks in, they immediately get greeted by somebody. Hey, is this your first time? Let me walk you through it. And then you have not all BNI meetings are made equal, right? And I've been in BNI meetings where nobody greets me when I walk in the door, and I'm like, "What is this? This is like a weird world, that I've walked into."
Big mistake when Joe Mikitish walks in the room.
I've been in BNI since 1999, and so I when I walk in, I'm judging hard on the structure and if they're greeting people, and I can tell the difference. There's a meeting that has 40 members and another one that has 10. And that's the difference, is like pulling people in immediately, making them feel welcome, feeling excited. And they go, wow, the energy in this room, you can like feel it on your skin, right? It's vibrating.
Yeah.
And so and it all starts from the second they walk in the door. You have 2 seconds to make a first impression. And that's all networking, right? You have 2 seconds, how you shake somebody's hand, how you look them in the eye, how you position your body language when there's two of you talking, if you're facing each other, or are you opened up? Like if we're talking to each other like dead on, that means we're having a closed conversation. People are terrified to come talk to us, right? Mm-hmm. But if we're more like, positioned sideways a little bit, we're having a conversation, but our body language is like this, you're going to feel like you can, come in to that third spot. And then we all reposition so that there's another spot for people to come into. And so all this is critical for people to understand that networking is not just going out with a bunch of business cards and slapping them on everybody's forehead. Lick the back of your card and go, boop. All right, we've done some networking. Success.
I have worked for businesses that literally that's how they gauged how well I was networking. How many business cards did you hand out today? Yeah. And it was like a game almost. Like you wanted to be the top producer, I guess, in that situation. So it was like, I handed out 20 business cards, but the guy next to me did 100. I was always like, okay, that's a challenge. I'm going to do 120, and I'm going to do 200. But they weren't quality. It's like, how many hands did you shake today? Mm-hmm. Not enough. Go shake more hands. And, at the end of the day, it is a numbers game, but it all goes back to the quality, not the quantity that we were talking about earlier with that.
Yeah, I actually had a fitness coach that came into our network, and I'm like, have you been out networking? He's like, yeah, I've been just handing out business cards to everybody. I'm like, yeah, what are you talking about? And he even coached with me for 2 weeks or something like that. He tried to coach with me, and I tried to coach him on networking, and I'm like, all right, this is how you network and that kind of thing. Very next week, he's like, I went out and had a bunch of business cards. I'm like, dude, that's not what I said. Yeah. Dude, I'm like, try to go a whole week without handing out one business card.
Couldn't do it.
He didn't even go 2 minutes without it, And I was like, I don't think this would be a good fit, And I don't even until this last week when we bought some business cards. I haven't had business cards in months, and I didn't own any. And so we bought some for this trip just so that people would remember us a little bit better because we're only in San Antonio 1 week out of the month. And so, most of the time, though, I have a digital business card and I'll have people scan it, but I'm not handing out business cards. I hate handing out business cards. I hate it when people hand me business cards, actually, other than for me to help them remember their name. But their pictures aren't on their business card. So then I get back and I'm like, who is Alex?
Yeah. I got a business card the other day. Quick rant on business cards. Guys, get good business cards. Just please do that. Like, I've seen some very basic ones where it's like all white, their name on it, and their title. And that's it. Like, there's no phone number, there's no nothing. And like, you're just expected to know who they are and how to contact them and all that stuff, right? Like, it's a little arrogant in my mind. If you're going to hand out a business card like that, like, what are you out networking for?
They spend good money on it too. Like it's on like linen paper, and like it's like this font, and it's called Bone.
Yeah.
They tell me all about the font, but I'm like, dude, nobody cares, and nobody's gonna remember that. You know?
So kind of contrast that. The business cards Joe and I put together for this trip. I think we finalized it like, what was it, Saturday?
Yeah, had it printed on Sunday at Staples.
Yeah, and so.
And let me show you one. I don't know if they can see this in the picture, but yeah, right. It's got my picture on it, right? And so you think about a business card, and I'll give this to you so you can put it into the podcast if you want to. But the reality is nobody's gonna remember my name, but they remember what I look like. That's on purpose. That's branding, right? And so got the cowboy hat. Got a mustache, got a mole. I went all out, right? And so, I'm like, we're branded up, got the name badges on. So our business card should reflect that.
Yeah, and with that too, like I see a lot of business cards where people are in like full tuxedos, right? Or like a nice blazer, suit and tie kind of thing. And then every time you see them, they're like in a polo shirt, and so they don't match the business card. Like, be authentic, be real, be you with your business card. But this is how effective our cards worked. Mm-hmm. We didn't even have to ask or say hello or anything. We walked into Staples to pick up the cards, and the lady looked up and immediately knew who we were, had our cards ready, the invoice ready. We get at the counter, and we're like, "Hey, we're Joe and Sterling." She's like, "I know who you are."
Yeah, she saw us as we walked in the door. We're walking across Staples, and she sees us, and her eyes got big. She's like, "Oh," and ran over and grabbed our cards. She's like, "I've seen you before," because she printed our cards in a couple hours before.
Well, yeah, but it's recognizable, right? Mm-hmm. And granted, I mean, Joe and I stand out a little bit, I would say, but just be real with your business cards and put your picture on there and Don't try to make it too fancy. No one really cares at the end of the day like how pretty it looks, but it should have an impact. We can do a whole thing of business cards, man. We should probably do a course on that.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
But I can guarantee you the person at Staples is going to remember us forever. We can walk in there 6 months from now, and she'll go, "Hey, I know you guys," know, and that's what we want is that branding to happen. The purpose of a business card is not only to give somebody contact information, but to keep with your brand, right? Your logos need to be tight on there.
Yep.
The way that you look, your phone number needs to match. If they go, they text the phone number and it's some other thing. I run into this all the time where somebody has the wrong information on their business card. I'm like, how do you throw those away and print new ones?
Yeah.
Like, not to go Staples, but we sent them the order at 11 in the morning. They were done at 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Same on a Sunday. Yeah.
We're not sponsored by Staples, by the way.
but like
had a good
that's
experience.
and it was like for 1,000 cards it's $44. It's like there's absolutely no reason to be carrying bad business cards, right? It's super easy. You can get somebody to make you one. You don't have to pay somebody thousands of dollars to make you a business card that looks good.
Yeah.
And one of the keys to good business cards is always have your picture on there.
Yep.
And you need to look like the way that you look. Don't get professional headshots wearing clothes that you don't wear for work, right? If you're out networking and you, like you're saying, you got like an Armani suit on, but you're out networking and you're wearing a T-shirt all the time, get your professional headshots and T-shirts.
Yeah.
Like, I wear a T-shirt all day, every day. Outside of the one time that my wife took me to a gala with a bunch of billionaires, and she's like, "We got to stop and get you a sports coat on the way." And so I just took my name badge and moved it to the outside of the sports coat with I have my shirt on, my T-shirt on, and cowboy hat, Wranglers, boots, and I made contacts at that gala. People came up to me and they were like, anybody who would come here where everybody's wearing $10,000 suits wearing that, we got to be friends, right? And so it actually excluded the people in the room I didn't want to talk to and drew in the people I did want to talk to. So part of your branding is drawing in the people who are going to be naturally good referral partners for you.
Yeah.
And I think people, they think branding is their logo and their colors scheme. Branding is what people remember about you and talk about when you're not in the room. So, it's interesting when people are like, "Hey, I referred you business. I told them to look for the guy in a cowboy hat and a mustache." I'm like, "Perfect. That's going to be me," almost all the time. So, makes it real easy. And then wearing your clothing, your branding. It's funny because I see people all the time in the business community. They're out networking wearing like Nike stuff. I'm like, "Do you work for Nike?" "No." "Then what are you wearing a Nike shirt for?" "I don't understand that." Put your own logo on your shirt.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive. Like for $20, you can go buy a nice shirt and put your logo on it. So, wear your own brand, rep your own brand all the time. And people don't do that. That's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I was actually at a Grant Cardone conference, and he was like, "Rep your own brand." That's like one of his things about branding. Then he's selling 10X stuff, and everybody's like 10X branded. I'm like, you're all repping Grant's brand, but not your own brand. And he preaches repping your own brand, but then sells you branded material swag because people buy it and they'll wear it.
I bet that's a test.
I
That's
think
got
it
to be
is.
a test, man.
I don't
There's
even-
going to be the one guy in the room that's like, "No thanks, I'll rep my own stuff." And
Yeah.
Grant's like, "That's the dude I want to work with."
Right. When I go, I'll go to his office and I'm wearing like my stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't have all the 10X people in there. They're all 10X I went on a tour of his office one time with a bunch of his clients, and all his clients were wearing 10. I'm like, "Do you guys work here?" They're like, "No, we're just, huge fans." I'm like, he tells you in his books, his speeches and everything, podcasts, rep your own brand. You're repping his brand like you work here, but you don't work here. Yeah. He's not paying you. You're paying him to rep his brand. How does that make any sense, And, it's like people who – I actually went to a networking event, and people were wearing jerseys of some basketball player, and I can't remember. It was like the finals or whatever. I'm like, "Do you work for the Lakers?" "No." "Then why are you wearing the Lakers jerseys?" Doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, you're at a business event, but it looks like you work for the Lakers. And I'm like, you should really wear, your own branded materials. And the tradespeople of all of the groups of people are the best at it.
Yeah, they
Because
are.
they go out and they're like, Mike's Plumbing, everywhere. The fans are Mike's Plumbing, and they actually understand. They get it.
Well, they're proud of it too, man.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite things about working with trades guys is just like the authenticity. They know who they are at the end of the day, and they own it. Like, they don't shy away from it, trying to pretend to be someone that they're not, right? Just to build the business. They're like, "No, this is who I am to the T. You either like me or you don't." Like, they're just raw with it, right?
Right.
But they're also really proud about the brand that they've built because that's how they feed their family and take their kids out fishing and all that fun stuff. So there's a lot of I don't know. To me, it seems more heartfelt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're even like, for our people who are in the trades that are in Blue Collar Connect, we buy them Blue Collar Connect stuff, but we brand it with their stuff on it, right? So the name badge has their name on it, their business name on it, as well as Blue Collar Connect. So we make sure that we're encouraging them to brand up. In fact, we're having new shirts made with their logos on the back, so everybody will see them walking around.
Yeah.
And then, but it'll also co-brand with us. So we're helping them through that process, but I think most people, they violate that rule. They need to get name badges, if nothing else. I mean, $12, crying out loud.
Yeah.
Go get a name badge.
If you got a little Nike logo on your shirt, put your name badge over
it. Yeah. If you're hell bent on wearing Nike stuff, my financial advisor, him and his team, they wear Nike branded stuff, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? He was like, I like Nike stuff. I'm like, it's not helping your business, bro.
Yeah.
So do it if you want to, but they make nice clothing, but wear it on the weekends. I won't even wear it on the weekends. I wear my brand all the time.
Yeah.
Weekends during the week. Yeah.
It's hard to miss you guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we went to a what was that guy's name? The concert we went to.
Tech Nine.
Yeah, we went to a Tech Nine concert.
How do you forget who Tech Nine is?
I don't know.
It's over there like front row.
It's hot in here, man.
It is hot.
Yeah, so we went to a Tech Nine conference or concert, and we were branded up.
Yeah, do work all the way.
Do work all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny too because people were pointing us out like the whole time as well. And then one guy, he was like, he was drinking a lot though. I don't know what kind of mood he was in, but he came up and like hand on the shoulder and he was like, "Bro, you look like a Viking." And I was like, "I am a Viking." And he was like, "Are you Thor?" And I was like, "Dude, how did you know?" Like, I'm trying to be undercover, And he was like, "Well, I saw your shirt first, but then I saw your beard." It was a lot bigger back then, but anyway, it was a cool experience. So
Yep.
Gonna stand out for sure.
Yeah, I gotta stand out all the time. All right.
For sure.
Yeah, I just been going on over here.
Yeah,
That's what I do.
Yeah, we just talked for like half hour. What
Yeah.
questions do you guys have? We're ready.
I think that kind of touched on, that was one of the last questions that we had was about like how introverts can network and stuff. And I know you touched on that. Did you have
Yeah.
any other, like maybe some tips for introverts? Because I also am an introvert.
Yeah, so quick background on me. I was an introvert, like extreme
No.
introvert. Yeah, hung out in my room the whole time. Didn't like to talk to people. I had one friend growing up, and him and I bonded over a cartoon show called Dragon Ball Z, and that was like our whole life, right? So we'd like get together and work out, and we'd rush home from school to watch it together and stuff. It was just cool, but I didn't have a lot of that extrovert kind of character or personality or I didn't even know how to personify it, like I admired it and all that stuff. But to me, it was just like these micro wins, like taking the time to acknowledge my own growth, which is really hard to do when you're keeping your head down for the most part. You live in your bubble, you have your shell and you're comfortable there, which is great. But to get outside that takes it's uncomfortable. It's hard, really hard to get outside of that world. So to me, it was literally somebody coming up to me and saying, "Hey, what's your name? Nice to meet you." And this happened at school. His name was Kyle, and ironically, we're still friends today, and it's great. But he came up to me at school. I was that kid sitting in the corner, and he was like, "Hey, man, I can't have you sitting in the corner. Why don't you come have lunch with me and my friends?" And that was it. That put me on an entirely new path. And so him and I became really good friends, gave me some new confidence. I was at a new school, too, so I didn't know anybody. And that moment of him, stepping over to say hi created this massive momentum. So anyway, just kind of fell in love with a new version of me, found my own confidence, found out that I could have that effect on other people, and then teaching something or instilling something in someone else is where you concrete that behavior or that knowledge. So stepping outside of my comfort zone of leading now was that new challenge to help other people through that. So all that started in high school. And I remember literally for lunch, I would just go around and I would find people sitting by themselves in the hall or at a table by themselves and do the same thing that Kyle did to me. "Hey, man, can't have you eating lunch by yourself. Why don't you come hang out with me and my friends?" And we just grew this massive table of, 50 to 80 people for lunch. And it's just stuck with me ever since. So if you are one of those extroverts, find somebody who's an introvert. Just say hi. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people have done that with me over the years.
Yeah.
Like a friend I made in college, we met at orientation. He said he came up to me because I looked sad and lonely.
Oh my gosh. At least he's honest, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that, tactically for introverts is make it easy for people to talk to you, right? Not to harp on the name badge thing, but people hesitate going and talking to people that they don't know their name,
Right.
And I'm an introvert naturally, right? And so at the end of the day, I want to lay in my bath with like some candles and a glass of wine just to recharge, because it drains me to go out and network and meet with people. It doesn't charge me up, and so for me, it's so much easier if somebody's wearing a name badge where I can walk up and I could go, hey, and this actually happened. I walked up, hey, Stacy, great to meet you. Let me introduce you. And she's like, how do you know my name? Well, you're wearing a name badge, thank God. And it makes it really easy for me to go introduce them to someone else too, because in the 20 feet or whatever that we had to walk over to the other people, I want to make sure that I got her name right. And I don't want to just go, oh, what was your name again? Because, if I forget. So wearing a name badge is huge for introverts, especially because it makes it so much easier for people to introduce you to other people. I could tell you that any sign shop in town will print them for you for like $12. You don't even have to get fancy. Send them a logo file. These are fancy name badges, but our other ones was like logo and then name. That's it. That's all you need. You don't even need a logo. Just put your name on the thing, right? Yeah. And it was funny because one of the people that in our network, her name is Jen. She actually had a name badge made that looks like the handwritten name badges. She's like, "Hello, my name is Jen," right? Yeah. And it was actually one that she had printed somewhere. And it was like metal and nice and magnetic and all that stuff. But she it looked like a handwritten name badge, and she wore it all the time because I told her when she came into the network, I'm like, wear a name badge all the time. People will forget your name. She's like, nobody's gonna forget my name. And then it happened to her. Like she met somebody, and then 10 minutes later, like, what was your name again? And I'm over there going, I told you to wear a name badge, and it helps big time with introverts because you're going to walk up to somebody, you're going to feel very uncomfortable talking to them because you don't remember their name. And I'll tell my one last name badge story, which is I learned this at a Tony Robbins conference wearing name badges. And there was a marketing guy, and he talked for an hour. One thing I got out of that whole talk was always wear a name badge. And I was like, I could do that. That's easy. And so across the street from the conference center that we were at was a little sign shop. And so I walked in. I'm like, and this is old day, like before you had fast internet and all that stuff. And I walked in. I'm like, I have my logo file. If I give it to you, can you print me a name badge, and how fast can you get it? And the guy's like, yeah, I can get it to you in like an hour. So an hour later, I'm walking back into the conference center, and that marketing guy's walking, branding guy's walking down the hallway. And I was like, I got my name badge. I went across the street and printed it, and we had a great conversation. Well, that was in Florida. I was flying home to Idaho, and I was in the Denver airport, and my flight got canceled, and I was there for hours. And so I decided to just drink a beer right out on the walkway where I could people watch everybody. And I was by myself just watching everybody walk by, and this guy walked over. He's like, Joe, I haven't seen you in years, since I lived in Houston in the late 90s. He's like, we had a great conversation. And over the next year together, we did over $1 million in business together. And he told me the only reason he felt comfortable coming and walking over and talking to me is because I was wearing a name badge in the airport. I was in the airport wearing a name badge. Couldn't remember my name. He remember like that he knew me, but he couldn't remember my name. Saw my name badge. He's like, oh yeah, it's that Joe guy. We came over. We had a great conversation. Had a couple of beers together, and we created a big business, almost empire together over the next few years. And so that name badge that cost me, I think, $8 at that sign shop, made me millions of dollars, and it's probably made me millions of dollars since wearing a name badge all the time. So, and it makes it so much easier as an introvert to wear one, and then people come up to you and talk to you. Then then it's not on you. You don't have to do all the work.
Nice. So I guess we need to all go and get name badges.
That's right.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah. We've come to the end of our time.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Oh,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. You can go.
Oh, okay, guys. We're coming to the end of our time. I just want to thank Sterling and Joe for joining us today and talking to us about the importance of networking. Do you want to tell our listeners where they can find you and what you guys have going on? And, you can talk a little bit more about your shirts that you got on.
Yeah, we do have different shirts, yeah. So Joe and I, our focus at the moment is primarily working with trades and home service business owners. And so we've noticed through networking, kind of going back to the whole pitch slap thing, Most trades guys don't network because when they do, they just get sold to the entire time, right? So, oh, you own a plumbing business, you got to advertise. Let me get you in and get you sold on this advertising package. Or, oh, you need the right kind of insurance if you're, a general contractor. So let me get you hooked up on all this stuff. So it doesn't seem like a lot of people really genuinely want to help trades and home service businesses grow and expand as much as they do just want to sell them on stuff. So Joe and I were like, well, let's fix that. Let's create a trades and home service specific network where they could come in and grow their business organically, so they're not spending money on marketing and advertisements and stuff like that. And then just kind of give them a little bit of business development knowledge beyond that. So ideally, we have 3 phases that we're doing with the Blue Collar Connect. And phase 1 is get the guys dialed in so they know who they are, who their ideal client is, get the branding stuff put together, educate them a little bit so they could take care of their families. Phase 2 is taking care of the business. I don't think anybody starts a business with the hopes and dreams that they'll do it until they die. They want to eventually enjoy life, so we're going to get the business developed and give them the tools necessary to hire the right team, start getting the operations put together, get their financial, sales, and marketing all dialed in so they could step back and take a vacation after all that hard work. And then phase 3 is the ultimate dream. We all want to own a Lamborghini and buy a millionaire house and all that fun stuff. So once these guys are making good money and they can segue from their business a little bit, we want to teach them how to properly manage that money. So teach them how to invest, build some passive income, and then start building that legacy for their family. So it's a big focus. It's a big dream. This has been taken off like wildfire, though. Like we didn't even market it. We created a Facebook page for it. Well, and LinkedIn page, too. We did like a business page. And then that was on a Monday. Tuesday, we were getting calls from like several different states across the U.S. And they were like, what the heck is this? This is for us? Like this is a thing just for trades? Like, we're in. Like, tell us about it. We're sold. And it's just been exploding ever since. So a lot of excitement for that. But, yeah, we're in San Antonio this week. We're doing a breakfast on Friday. So if you guys are listening, I don't think this will be up by Friday, but next month.
Every month we're doing a breakfast, and it's networking for tradespeople only, right? So nobody else is allowed in the room. And so nobody there is selling them anything. And so we're going to put the plumbers and electricians and HVAC people and carpet cleaners and house cleaners and window washers and about 40 different home services and trades represented in a room where they can just network safely with each other and grow their business. And my experience with groups of about 40 of tradespeople, they're doing $5 to $10 million in referred business in a year, right? But in that group. And so it's a life-changing thing to do that. But if you go into most networking groups, there's 1 or 2 or 3, maybe 4 tradespeople in a networking group. And there were 80 to 90% of the referrals are happening within that small, tiny group of 4 people. So, in 1999, I wrote in my notebook, create a network for tradespeople. And so it only took me 24 years to figure it out, and that I actually need to do it. Yeah. And so here we are, we're doing it. And we're putting together right now 4 groups in San Antonio and 4 groups in the Boise area, and then we'll expand out beyond that. So each one of those groups will have 40 people, and then we'll do a social event. Blue collar beers.
Oh yeah.
In the evening. So the great thing is they don't have to be pitched by anybody. It's just there to see how they can help each other grow business. So that's the focus.
Well, and how cool is that? Like, let's say you're a plumber, right? And you're doing like $500,000 a year, which is great. Like, that's a lot of money. But you're doing that with like 4 other people that you're referring business with. Like, if you got 40 people in the room, you just 10x your network. So you're going to ideally 10x your revenue that you're making. Like, that's life-changing. That's going to be huge for a lot of these businesses, and we're excited for that. And plus, it's a safe space. They're not getting pitched to sell or to buy all this stuff, you know what I mean? They're just building wealth and building assets and taking care of their family. It's going to be great.
And we're not going to dog on financial planners and stuff like that, but they do come in the room and they monopolize the time from the tradespeople. They'll sit there and they're like, hey, you need life insurance, you need a 401k, you need all this stuff, which some people do. They need an annuity, whatever. And but they've been hit up by 40 different financial planners that week, right? And so what we want to do is create a spot where they want to go because the other tradespeople are in the room and they can grow their business. And if they want a financial planner or something like that, we're happy to refer them to one that we trust. But other than that, they don't have to just sit there and just get pitched constantly. And so we want to do that for other groups, but right now it's just trades. That's what we're looking at. Trades and home services.
Yeah, that's great.
Right on. Yeah. Exciting things.
Yeah, yes. Big stuff.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys, for coming. We're always glad to have you. Always glad to have you guys as, what is it, a working relationship.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we're doing this every month, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just keep adding to the list of, exciting topics and whatnot. So
We'll probably be wearing the same shirt.
all right,
Maybe.
should we set up a challenge? Like, I know you guys are in podcast. But
How long can you guys wear the same shirt? Or
I'm more curious of how long it'll take you guys to get name tags.
okay,
Just-
I'll get on that today.
Even if it's like
if
the
you tell
hello,
him
my
that
name
today,
is.
we'll have him by the end of the day.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
for sure.
great. Okay, good to
If
know.
he's still out there, we're gonna go out to him and be like, "Hey, we
Yeah.
need name tags today, everybody."
Everybody.
Yep.
That's right. And then wear them too, like going out. We get stopped all the time. Like airport, we'll go to get a gas station. Well, we went to the gas station to get, we were having some energy drinks or something like that. And this guy walks in and he's like, whoa. What is Blue Collar Connect? And Joe explained the concept to him and he was like, what the heck? This is the greatest idea I've ever heard of. And like he owned a landscaping company at one point. He had just shifted to real estate. But you could see that spark in his eye. He was like, maybe I'll open up that landscaping company again.
Right.
So, anyway, just good branding stuff.
Yeah,
but-
just wearing a name badge helps a lot. Yep.
Appreciate you
looking
guys
forward to
having
seeing
us.
you
Yeah, of
in name
course.
badges.
We will.
Yeah.
All right, but this is the end of the podcast for today. Once again, we are While Supplies Last, the marketing podcast. We're with Peachtree Rose Marketing, and you can find us on our socials. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok at Peachtree Rose Marketing. And if you'd like to set up a consultation with us, you can find us at peachtreerosemarketing.com. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank
See
you.
you guys.